What is up, YouTube? PandaCat back. Today we're going to be doing a highly requested video. There won't be any gameplay or any footage involved, but I can assure you I have a video for all the gods that will be listed in today's video on the YouTube channel. So if you're curious about how to play them or how they play out as a character themselves, you can go and find that video anywhere. What we will be going over today is the top 5 ranked gods and gods you should start playing in ADC to get better, and all the viable builds on most of the hunters, even the crit build, though I don't like to build it personally. And yeah, let's just get into it. I've been saying I'm going to do a top 5 video for a while now, and it's just about time that we will be doing that. So, the first pick, or I'll do top 5 as in the first god labeled or named will be the best god in the list. So the first god we're going to go with is Heim. Heim is the newest addition to the role. He was the newest god added to the hunter role. This god is extremely strong. You probably won't be playing too much of him if you're a ranked player. He's banned most of your games, but Heim's just got a really strong kit. He's very hard to box. He has the hardest hitting autos, obviously, with the multiplier. His kit is very strong. He's hard to gank. His 3 is extremely good. His ult, I mean, everything about this god is what you want to have as a hunter player and a carry player, and just as a carry player in the role. He's got a really great escape. He's got a lot of burst damage. He's got a great amount of CC. And he's got infinite vision, right? His 1 obviously gives vision. And yeah, I just think he's a really good god. He's definitely the best carry to play in ranked if you're looking for a carry to play. He's very simple. His passive, he just gets extra damage when he sees gods, as well as reducing the amount of critical damage that he does, although it is still higher than all the other hunters if you do the math. The 1 is just a sword he throws up in the sky, gives him vision to anybody in like a radius of the sword. Pretty simple ability. He throws it down when he wants to deal damage. He puts it up if he wants to see. This will be your main clearing ability. You're going to stack the wave with your autos and then use it. 2 is a long range slow. Does some damage. Nothing too crazy. The good part about it is that it's a knock up if you're close, so it's a good peeling ability. If the jungler's diving you 2, cancel it, boom, knock him up. The 3 is probably the hardest part of the kit. Setting up crystals in spots where you don't take too long to crystal, as well as the crystal cooldown doesn't go, the crystal cooldown isn't high, right? So you want to have short range crystals so that it's the same cooldown as a jump or like any other hunter roll / dash. But you want to have them set up to a point where you're just using it very effectively. So if you're going to go in, set up a crystal close to you, not too far away, so that when you crystal, it's like an immediate escape, and it's up in the next 12 seconds or whatever the timer is, 14 seconds. This ability is by far the hardest ability in this kit. Learning how to use it properly comes with time and practice. You'll know sometimes it's worth it to go the long TPs. Most of the time it's not. But yeah, this ability is very, very unique, very cool. So if you are interested in playing Heim, know that you should focus on how to place the 3 and use the 3 effectively to get in and out of situations and in and out of trouble. And yeah, it's a really cool ability. It makes him extremely powerful, makes him extremely hard to gank and dive. With the rest of his kit being so strong, he can see you from far away. He can peel for himself. He has an absurd amount of damage. Learning how to utilize the 3 very well is an essential part of the kit that you should learn or try to focus on immediately once you start picking up the character. And I assure you, if you get good with the 3 and you learn how to use the rest of the kit in coherence and use it together very well, you're going to have a great time with this god. And lastly, the ultimate, right? The ultimate's just a great ability as well. He obviously sends them to Niflheim. It has a interact damage, so the second the actual axe hits you, you take damage. If you beat it, the damage is still taken. The CC is very, very great. You get put to wherever the Heim wants you. You can flick the mouse backwards. You can put it forward, sideways. And yeah, it's a crazy amount of damage mid to late game. It's very, very hard to play around. The second you're not beads yet, you just have to play back versus a Heim. And I don't know, it's just a great ult. It's just a great ult. It really brings his kit together. He has great poke. He has great escape. He has great peel. His ultimate's amazing. So there's really not much you don't get when you pick Heim. So definitely my number 1 on the list for ranked. So yeah, if he's open in your game, I'm gonna try. What we're gonna do in this video is I'll just do a god builder, show you what you should start with, show you the other build, show you the finishing portion of the build, and I'll give you some tips or some advice on how to play the builds out and you know, what different builds work in the gods. So for Heim, assuming you're going to go the Devourer's Gauntlet start with them being buffed, you would go a Hunter's Blessing, Tier 1 Devourers, couple of each pot, depending on how your lane's going to go. Safe to say you get about 2 health and 2 multi, right? So this would be your start. You have no more gold left in your hands. What you're going to rush, oh, that's a Discord sound. What you're going to rush is usually a boots, unless you have enough gold for Devourer's Gauntlets. What you do is you build the boots on your first, second back, however the pace of the game is going, right? Your second item should either be the boots if you rush the Devourer's Gauntlets, or the Devourer's Gauntlets if you rush the boots, like so. Where is it? There you are. With this being done, your core items would be Hunter's Blessing, Ninja Tab by Devourer's Gauntlets. This is a great part of the build. You're pretty strong here. Once you stack the devs, you'll really, really feel strong. After the devs, you get what is most likely the strongest Hunter item in the game, an Executioner. Core in almost every single Hunter build in the game. Just an overall great item. Let me go see what is this noise I'm getting. Let me mute this server for 1 hour. Sorry guys. Yep, gonna go the Executioner route. I'm gonna show you the pen build. This will be the first build I offer or show to use. Go to Executioner, go to kin size. These 4 items will absolutely dominate tanks, destroy tanks. Frontliners are gonna have a terrible time against you. You have the lifesteal, a good amount of attack speed. And it's just a very strong build. There's no inconsistencies with it, meaning the damage is the same. In fact, the tankier that people get, not much changes. The damage is still the same. Some people opt to go for crit. I prefer the pen build. Once you have these 4 core items, you should have these items in every single pen build that you build as a hunter. Ninja, Devo's, Execution, kin size, unless you're going for a Bloodforge start, which is a different story. These 4 items are very, very strong together, and I do recommend you try out this build on Heim. He hits extremely hard. The attack speed that you get from the build, combined with the extra damage and the auto attacks, is very, very nice. You actually notice it very quickly. Your autos just hit so hard, man, and it's great. As for 6 items with the pen build, this is what your build will look like. You go up to about 2.2, 2.3 attack speed, which is very, very nice. The end game playstyle of this build is very fluid, not very chunky or messy, however you want to describe it. You get the items, whether you're good or bad at the roll, you will do a lot of damage, and that's just how it is. That's how the carry roll kind of works. Once you get to late game, you're going to be hitting pretty hard, so not much can go wrong with this build. There's no real items that can counter the build. Nothing that anybody can build. No gods really do well into this build, as in Geb does well into crit. Well, there's no real god that does better into a pen build than any other god. So yeah, really, really strong build. This is the 6 items before you sell your boots for the most part. If the enemy team has a healing comp or a bunch of healing, like a Hell, an Afro, maybe not on the same team, just on a Hell. Maybe they have an Afro, maybe a Guan, maybe this, maybe that, maybe a Horus, maybe some junglers that build lifesteal, like a Pele. If the enemy ADC has a bunch of lifesteal, if their mid's going the lifesteal tree, quite a few reasons you'd want to pick up a Toxic Blade, an extremely, extremely strong item. Very, very statted. 100 health, the pen, the attack speed, movement speed. It's actually everything you want in ADC, as well as the passive that reduces healing. So when you're auto attacking in a team fight, if they go back to healer, they're healing in the middle of the team fight, in the midst of everything, the healing will be reduced. Extremely strong item. Very, very powerful for any healing comp. You definitely want to build this. If they have a healer, you would build it instead of Oba as a 6th item. You're reducing your AoE damage a little bit with the lightning bounces, right? You're losing a little bit of attack speed, but the anti-heal that you get from the item is very, very valuable. And I would recommend it. I build this item all the time on stream, off stream, in ranked. It's just a great item. It's got a lot of stats. Not much can go wrong if you build it. What happens if you're going to 6 items and they don't have healing? You don't need the Toxic Blade. You don't want the Toxic Blade. There's a couple other options here. We have a Heartseeker can be great. Just a lot of extra power. Not much can go wrong with this. If you build this, take off the boots, build this, you'll be right over that 200 mark. So the passive from the Heartseeker actually does kick in. Is Heartseeker too expensive for you? This is the defensive aisle. You can get a Bloodforge in the spot if you feel the need. You can get an Aussie. You can get honestly, the world's your oyster. The 6th item, if you don't, assuming you're selling boots and you don't want the Toxic Blade, you can pretty much get whatever you want. If you need a mantle, go ahead and get a mantle. If you need a Magi's, get a Magi's. If you want a Frostbound, get a Frostbound. If you want to, you know, it honestly doesn't even matter. The sixth item is just like it's like what am I dying to in team fights? What am I losing to in team fights? What am I doing in team fights that I want to do more of? And you just base it off that. You need some extra movement speed. Get an Atlantis bow. I mean, the world really is your oyster when I'm saying this, because I mean it. You can literally build any item, and you should be fine. This is the lifesteal variant with Devourer's Gauntlets. Another build that you can go on him will be the Transcendence Rush. So you go boots into the Trans 1. I'll show you right here. So once again, same thing, 2 mana, 2 multi. Same deal. Instead of the Executioner third item, you're going to be picking up an Aussie. Very, very strong with the Transcendence. The power from the Transcendence along with the physical penetration from the Aussie make you hit extremely hard. Gives you some lifesteal for the build. And just overall makes your playstyle feel a lot better. Having lifesteal on a Hunter is very important. You can tank objectives for your team. You can tank... you can heal up in the middle of fights. You can heal out of combat. You can tank frontliners. You can tank backliners. Just the stat itself is very, very important to have on a carry. And getting the third item Aussie is what you want when you're going the Transcendence build. This build is a little bit slower. The items cost a little bit more, but it's still very effective. It's very strong. You get the cooldown from Transcendence, which is stacked, which is great on Heim, right? The ult cooldown gets reduced, so on and so forth. And you never go wrong with some cooldown, right? After the Aussie, you want to go into an Executioner. From here, if you want to go crit, you can go crit. What I usually build if I go the Transcendence build is I'd go Aussie Exekins, followed by a Titan's Bane. And in this spot, you are feeling really, really, really strong when you have these 6 items online. You shred frontliners. You hit super hard. You shouldn't really be going in team fights. It's a great build. It's on the same level, I'd say, of the Devourer's Gauntlets, though with the Devourer's Gauntlets buff, the lifesteal that you lose is quite a lot. You have 29% with the Devourer's Gauntlets, whereas the Aussie gives you 20% along with the extra percent if you get low. But typically speaking, when you get that low, if it's in the middle of a team fight, you should probably be dead. Anyways, there's some moments where the Aussie lifesteal kicks in, right, and super clutch. You win a team fight, you win a game, whatever the case may be, but the consistent lifesteal from Devourer's Gauntlets feels really, really great in team fights, and it's been buffed, so I've just been building on most of my Hunters, even like gods like Uller and X-Ball. So, you know, if you don't want to go devs, if it's not your playstyle, if you like to spam, you like to have the cooldown from Trans, you like to just have a big mana pool, go ahead and try this build out. It's really, really strong. Like I said, Execution into Kansas, same thing as the last build. What happens is it just takes a little longer to get everything online, but even with these 4 items, you should be chunking and feeling really great about it. So that would be, these would be the 6 items I would get. Like I said, sell boots. You want either a Toxic Blade if they have healing, an Oboe if you want. Oboe is usually what I get because the power from Trans coupled with the Oboe passive, which obviously scales off physical power. Your Lightning Bolt slam in team fights, it's a lot of passive damage. You don't even notice it, but just taking it around, hitting what's in front of you, you hit extremely hard. So build an Oboe. If you don't need an Oboe, you don't want an Oboe, you would need some anti-heal. Get a Toxic Blade. If for some reason you don't want either of these items, you don't care about the Oboe attack speed that it adds to the build, you can go ahead and get a Heart Seeker. You can get a Bloodforge in this spot. You can get a Mantle in this spot. You can get a Magi's. Like I said, the 6th item with the boots, it's very, very, very flexible. But for the most damage, from what I've seen with this build, I would just go Oboe in place of the boots. Puts you way up there near the attack speed cap, and the damage output becomes truly insane. Yeah, extremely strong build. Like I said, Devourer's build is good as well. I go devs usually, but sometimes you go boots, or sometimes you go Trans. It's really up to the playstyle. It shouldn't be that big a difference. As in, if you go this build and you're winning the game, it'll feel the same as Devourer's. The Transcendence is nice. Though what I will say is, if you're against a poke heavy ADC and you go Trans, you're gonna want to be buying a lot more pots in lane, because poke can be pretty annoying to deal with, of course. So if you opt out of the early lifesteal and you go the Devourer's build, or excuse me, you go the Transcendence build, grab an extra health pot on your way back to base or on your way back to lane. It'll feel a lot better, trust me. Yeah, so it's a Transcendence pen build. Very, 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 very strong. You can't really go wrong with this build either. Any pen build, like I said, you can't really go wrong. The builds just do so well mid and late game. making it very easy for you to do your job in team fights. The frontliners are easy to kill. The backliners are still fairly easy to kill. The only thing you lose is some objective damage that you would get with crit builds, some more burst damage in the backline, but it's not too big a deal. Like I said, you really can't go wrong with these builds. I'll focus on the other two builds in the next gods. Kind of want to move on to the next god, so this video isn't 50 hours long. So that's Heim. I put him on the first spot of my list. Try either of the builds. Let me know if you try and how it feels. And yeah, going on to the next god, number 2 on the list, meaning the second best god for ranked in my opinion. If you can get good at him, I personally think it's Hu Yi. Hu Yi is an extremely strong carry. He's got a lot of counterplay potential. He's got a lot of playmaking potential. He's pretty safe in terms of if you go on Hu Yi and you don't have an active up or you don't have a jump up, he will just kill you. Late game, he's an absolute menace. The 2 is very, very strong. The ult is a great zoning tool. The escape isn't the greatest, but it's also very nice to go in with, seeing as you can couple the 2 with the 3, get the knock up into a nice guaranteed 1 combo. And he's just a very fun god. He's very strong. And he's just great. Honestly, if you're good at Hu Yi, there's never really a time you can't pick him. Not many gods straight up counter him. He's just good into most of the gods, honestly. And the reason I'm putting Hu Yi second is because of the other hunters that I'll be listing on this list. Hu Yi is just very, very easy and strong, easy to play versus the hunters that I'm going to list off, and very strong against them as well, which will make him second on the list. So obviously, Hu Yi passive is if you've been hit with a critical strike, you cannot be crit again for the next 3 seconds. Very, 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 very strong against hunters that choose to go crit versus you, meaning that they can't really box you because after they crit you once, there's 3 seconds of downtime where you'll just be doing more damage than they are, and that's just how it is. The 1, obviously a ricochet, very cool ability, a lot of playmaking potential with this ability. You can bounce it off walls, triple bounce, double bounce, just go for the stun. It's not a Hu Yi guide, but the ability is great. It's very fun. Can make a lot of really cool plays with it. The 2, kind of what brings Hu Yi's kit all together. I think if the 2 wasn't here, Hu Yi'd feel pretty clumsy to play. But obviously the 2, you know how it works. You 2 somebody, 1 him, boom. The damage increase starts stacking up, and you start hitting hard. The 3, his escape, right? We know how Hu Yi escapes. He jumps up into the air. He looks around where he wants to go. Goes to place that he wants to go. Essentially, if he wants to go in front of him, he'll jump in front of him. So on and so forth. You can move in the sky, so you could choose where to go. And the ult, it's just a huge circle. It's pretty easy to hit. It's I believe it's 8 hits or 9 suns. That's right, 9 suns. Pretty rare. Like, it's a rare occurrence for you to hit people with all 9 suns. They'd probably be dead anyways. But you try to hit them with 3, 4, 5. Early game, very, very powerful. You can use it to clear waves. You could use it to force fights. If people don't have actives, you hit the 2-1 combo, ult on top of them. Like I said, very, very, very strong god. And the reason I'm putting him second is because the other hunters that are going to be on this list simply just don't have great matchups into him. So meaning where they can shine potentially, Hu Yi actually doesn't let them do so. So Heim is really good at boxing. Well, Heim can't really outbox a Hu Yi. Hu Yi stun counters a lot of what Heim wants to do. Go into the crystal, leave the crystal, stops the 2 from being channeled, things like that. So I think Hu Yi is very, very strong. And ranked, he's pretty great. You just can't go wrong with Hu Yi if you know how to play him. Go over the same builds with him. All these builds are very, very similar. As in, the builds are similar. It's just where you want to build them. I'm going to go over the crit build with Hu Yi. Some people like to build crit still. I personally don't, because of Spectral Armor being a thing in the game. Building an entire stat to be negated by a single item, it's not where I want to be. Especially, I play for competitive reasons, right? I play ranked to get better at competitive. I play ranked to test things for competitive, and why I play the game might be a little bit different from why you play the game. So if you want to just build crit, go for it. The build's fun. You do a lot of damage. It's not that bad. Spectral Armor negates the build a lot. It's still fine. You still hit pretty hard. It's just not what I like to go in my builds, but nonetheless, we will still go over it. So if you're going crit, I do highly recommend going the Devourer's Gauntlet start. The lifesteal is very, very nice when you have high hitting autos or high damaging autos. The percent lifesteal is very nice to have. If you're critting somebody for 400 and healing for like 70 of it, 80 of it, you're going to be feeling really nice in team fights. It's going to be very hard to dive you. And yeah, the build just feels great, assuming they don't go Spectral. So going over the build, like I said, same thing with the other Devourer's build start. You're either going to want to go rush the boots or go straight to the Devourer's gauntlets. Depending on your lane matchup, right? If you're going to get pressured by not having movement speed, you might want to rush the boots and save the dev gloves for later. But if you have enough for the dev's gloves and you think you can just get away with farming a little bit, getting the dev's gloves stacked up, you're going to want to rush them. From here, a lot of people will rush straight into Rage. Obviously, Rage stacks up to 5 stacks, so getting it online early is pretty nice because you can build it up a lot quicker than getting it 4th item. A lot can happen in the span of getting 1 item. I've backed and gotten a full Rage, and then by the time I've gotten my next item, the Rage has been fully stacked. So I do recommend getting a 3rd item if you're going to be going crit. It feels really nice to have it stacked up early. You will be swinging once you're critting. Obviously, the stacks give you 3% each stack. Up to 5, you get 45% crit chance off 1 item, almost putting you at half. At 1 out of 2 chance to crit somebody on an auto, which is extremely strong. The item is great. You do want this item if you're going to be going crit. Otherwise, I think you're just doing it wrong. Item is super cheap, super efficient, super effective for what the stat is. And yeah, after Rage, you're going to be getting an Executioner. Pretty standard stuff. These 4 items will make you feel like you are unkillable, no matter what point in the game it's at. I've been behind, and as soon as I get these 4 items online, I just feel so comfortable, like I'm ready to start making impacts in team fights. The items are just great together. Obviously, the stacking Executioner, critting, it just feels good. If you're free casting with this build, you're going to be feeling good in a team fight. After the Executioner, you're going to want to go into a second crit item. Most people go Deathbringer. I think it's great. Deathbringer with a crit build. Obviously, the passive synergizes so well. Another 25% crit chance will put you to 70% crit, which means it is unlucky for you to not crit. This item is pretty key in crit builds. Building it 5th item's great. And yeah, it's just a good crit item. Honestly, there's not much to talk about. You know, Deathbringer. Deathbringer is just good with crit. If you go with crit, you should go Deathbringer. 6th item, usually you will find yourself buying a Wind Demon. Wind Demon, it used to be an insane item. It's still great now. Pretty cheap. They buffed the cost on it. I believe it was like 2,800 at one point, if I'm not mistaken. The reason you're going to be building this item is because, as you notice, neither of these items have attack speed on them. So the attack speed on the item itself, as long as the passive, or along with the passive, that is, sorry, kind of make up for the loss of the attack speed that you were getting from the pen build with the Xe, the Kins, the Oboe, and stuff like that. So having this will kind of make up for that. It's not quite the same. You're still gonna have less attack speed, but it is nice to have. Makes you feel less of a turtle, I'd say. Your auto attacks feel fast. You feel like you're doing a lot of work, and this item's just great. You can go Poison Star if you want. You're going to be losing the attack speed passive. It's fine if you're getting dove super hard. I've built Poison Star before. It feels okay. It feels a lot less fluid than the Wind Demon because, like I said, having high attack speed on hunters is just something you want as a carry. And yeah, you can go Poison Star here. You can, I mean, it's whatever. I build Wind Demon a bunch. If you were to go the crit build, I think these 6 items are pretty mandatory. Assuming you're late in the game or late enough in the game where you are selling your boots, I would probably get a Titan's Bane here because you need a lot of pen to make crit good. Otherwise, a lot of the crit gets mitigated by protections. So getting Titan's Bane with the Executioner is just enough pen where you'll actually be swinging super hard even if somebody's very tanky. As in they have a lot of physical protections. Just a really nice item. Kind of brings the whole build together. I personally do not build this very often, if at all. Spectral Armor's in the game. Kind of negates the entire crit build. Obviously, only deal 50% out of 100. So instead of critting somebody for 100%, you're doing half of what you'd normally be doing. The item's very cheap, as in Spectral is very cheap. It's picked up by a lot of frontliners. And it makes your job as a carry a lot harder than it could be / should be. So build this at your own risk. I don't think it's something you should never go. In fact, if they only have one frontliner or they have squishy backliners and they're diving you hard, you can go crit. It'll feel fine. Just know that if somebody builds Spectral, it'll feel a lot worse than it feels when they don't have Spectral, right? It makes sense. And yeah, this is the crit build. Pretty standard stuff. Feels pretty nice to play. Just feels kind of annoying to play against Spectral Armor, but if you're in a elo bracket where people don't know what Spectral is, or people don't build it, or people aren't paying attention, crit's still gonna feel great. So if you want to build it, this would be the build I would go. Otherwise, I would just go the same Exe, Devos, Pen build that I went on Heim. The Executioner, Kins, Titan's Bane build, I find it very, very strong. Coupling that with a Huyi 2, you start to hit extremely, extremely hard, extremely fast. And yeah, I mean, the build is just great. Give it a try. Like I said, that was the crit build. Moving on, that is Huyi at number 2. We're going to be looking at Anher. I think Anher is number 3 on this list for ranked. Anher is a very easy to play character. His numbers are insane. His base damage is super high. His passive is great. And he just has the ability to do a lot of what you want as a hunter. He can box, he can clear, he can pressure, he can delay, he can stall, he can like one the waves and stuff, he can zone. He can be very aggressive, he can be hard to dive. And if you pilot it on her well enough, he can be a very, very, very hard and annoying god to play against and like dive as a frontliner or a backliner. And I just think he's a very, very strong god who doesn't have that much going on in his kit to learn. The only intricacies in his kit are like impaling into your own pillar and things like that. But if you play the god enough, it's a combo you'll learn in due time. Anher's 3rd on the list because I think he's just strong. He's just easy to play, easy to pick. You don't have to worry too much about when you're going to pick him, who you're playing him into. He's just a god that if he's ahead or tied with the enemy ADC, he will do work. He's pretty easy to play, like I said. And yeah, I just think he's a strong god. Definitely a good pick for you if you're forced into ADC, you don't know how to play. Try Anher. Anher's great. The 1's a big slow. The 2 is a knockback, good for peel. If you knock somebody into a wall, they become stunned. The 3 is just a jump. It's a knockup if you hit an enemy. The ult is 8 spears, just does an insane amount of damage. Early game, it's very, very useful. 75-second cooldown, lowest cooldown out of the ADCs. CC immunity for the god. I mean, this god has it all. Built-in physical pen. Built-in physical pen in the kit, meaning when you're hitting somebody early on, you're just going to be hitting so much harder than them due to the passive. And he's just strong. He's strong into the gods that are also good, which makes him 3rd on the list for me. And he's just a really fun god. A lot of plays you can make with him. This is an old build actually that I have. This was when Icarus was the other build. I still go the Devos pen build on him. The same build I showed you with the Heim. Devos into Exe Kins, Titan's Bane Oboe. Nothing new here. It's just a build that I prefer to build. Toxic Blade, like I said, if you need the anti-heal. If not, you do whatever you want with the 6th item, assuming you're selling the Toxic Blade for boots. Yeah, you can build the crit build on her if you want to, the trans build on her, the Devil's build on her that I showed. All 3 of those builds are extremely viable on her. I think Anher's great. He's very fun to play. And yeah, he's hard to dive. He's very hard to punish in lane because he just does so much more damage than you. And I just think he's very, very strong to play and very annoying to go against. That's why I'm putting him 3rd on my ranked tier list for hunters. Yeah, let's go on to the next god. This one's pretty short because I've already explained the builds, right? So what's next is just to talk about the hunters themselves. So we have number 4 coming up on the list, and I think it is Ullr. Ullr is an extremely strong rank god. He's pretty mechanic dependent, meaning if you're not good at hitting your abilities, you're probably not going to have a good time with Ullr. I find he is one of the easiest gods to carry ranked with because he's got so many damaging abilities. He's got so many ways to kill people. He's hard to dive. And he just feels great to play. Like if there's a day you're feeling on, like you're feeling on fire, you know, you just played a game before that, you're hitting everything, you just got in the ADC role, you're like, oh, what do I play, man? You know, I'm not that great at Heim, whatever. Hui's banned, Anher's banned. What do I play? Like, what do I play? Pick Ullr. Pick Ullr. You're going to have a lot of fun with Ullr. He's very strong. Like I said, the skill ceiling's high with this god. You need to hit your abilities for him to feel good. So if you're not great mechanically, I would veer away from him. It's also kind of what puts him on number 4 on the list because if you're not hitting the constant axe combos, he's going to feel a lot worse to play than the other gods who just have a little bit less in their kit but do just as much in my opinion. So Ullr, the abilities are pretty simple. He's got 2 stances, axe stance and bow stance. Axe stance, he has a stun and a jump. Bow stance, he has a like line ability that does damage and a circle ability that does damage. This kit is very simple. The combo is just axe, switch into bow stance, 1-3 on the person you axed. It's usually enough damage to just blow up a backliner or a frontliner. It's a very strong combo, and you're gonna want to practice the god a lot because if you're, like I said, if you're not hitting abilities, the god's gonna feel terrible. That's just how it is. What makes Ruler so annoying and good is that his 3 is a pretty hard ability to juke. I mean, it's equally hard to hit, but if you're playing against a skilled Ruler, he will be 3ing you a lot in an arrow stance or bow stance, and it's just gonna chunk your health away. He's very annoying to play against. He can force your beads very easily, and it's just very, very aggressive playstyle that a lot of people are uncomfortable playing against. And if you're against a good Uller, you're probably going to die in lane at one point. It's just how it works. The god is super, super good at killing carries. He's super good at killing what's in front of him. And he's just strong. Honestly, he's pretty strong. He's pretty hard to deal with because he has so much pressure. The axe is always... the axe can always force the beads. If you don't have beads, the axe can just lead to a straight up kill, a solo kill. So yeah, that's what makes Ruler so strong. This is going to be, we're going to go over a little bit of a different build with this guy because a lot of people seem to like the Mace build. It's the 4th build of ADCs that I think is pretty strong if you get ahead, although I do prefer auto tech builds on him. I'll just make sure I went over the whole kit. Yeah, I mean, the kit's pretty easy. Pop your 2 for extra damage, pop your 2 for extra movement speed and axe stance. And just kind of face roll, honestly. It's a pretty face rolly kit. You just use all your abilities, hope you hit them. If you do, you're probably going to get a kill. If you don't, try again in 8 seconds or whenever they're up again. Yeah, that's all. Let's go over the god builder. So, Uller is a pretty spam-heavy god, like I said, so you're going to want to utilize a more mana-oriented build, aka Trans. Some people don't like the Hunter's Blessing into Trans 1 start. I personally do. I think Hunter's Blessing is just a very, very strong blessing, though don't think it's necessary to get it. If you want to rush straight to the Trans and just become a lane bully early on, go ahead and start tier 2 Trans, a bunch of pots, finish the Trans on your first back, and start stacking and being obnoxious. Because the god is really just obnoxious. When he has a lot of mana, he doesn't feel like, and he's not concerned about going the amount of abilities he can use is just, it's pretty annoying to play against, which is why I think Trans is a really, 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 really nice build path for Ruler. It makes him a lot more easy to play, makes him feel a lot better to play because you're just never worried about going The CDR from Trans is really, really nice in combination with the passive. You feel like your abilities are always up. So, yeah, try it out. So we're going to go, what the regular build is usually, I would go Ninja Tabai because the mana on the Ninja Tabai works well with the Trans, as long as just playing, it feels a little bit better to play with. After the Ninja Tabai, you're going to want to finish your Transcendence, assuming you want the Hunter's Blessing. Some people like to rush Trans, like I said. You could just finish the Trans straight up if you want. It all depends on the pace of the game and how you really like to play. So I would usually go for the boots. You don't want to rush the Trans too much. Trans is 2,000 gold, and it's not as important to stack as a Devos. But if you want to rush the Trans or you have the 2,000 gold and your lane's going well, feel free to get the Trans out of the way. So I'll usually go Ninja Tabai. After I finish the boots, I focus on finishing the Transcendence. Then we start stacking. And we're going to go over the Mace build. So the Mace build's got quite a few different ways that you can build it. But it's mainly just the maces, right? That's why I call it the Mace build. All these maces, or at least 3 of the 4 of them, should be built in the build. What you'll see a lot of ranked Ulers go is the Jotun's Wrath option, the 20% CDR on top of the 10% from the Transcendence. And if you go Mage's Blessing, which I don't recommend, but some people do, puts you right at that sweet spot, 40% CDR, capped on the CDR, making you an extremely, extremely annoying god to play against because your cooldowns are always up. And when I mean always, I mean always. You can axe somebody, go into the bow stance, 3-1 them, 2 them as well, or use your 2 in the bow stance, and by the time you switch back to your axe stance, the abilities are just back up again, making him extremely, extremely hard to play against, and just kind of a build-up a lot of people like the rank. So what you'll go for, if you're going for the CDR, you want to go Ninja Tabai, Transcendence into the Jotun's Wrath. That'll put you at the 30% CDR. Follow the Jotun's Wrath with usually a Crusher. If you need a Brawlers for anti-heal, get a Brawlers. Brawlers is fine. Seeing as you're always spamming your abilities, the passive actually feels great with Uller. If you don't need a Crusher, if you don't need a Brawlers, go into that Crusher. Crusher is just a very, very strong item for physicals. The passive is great. The attack speed is what you want on Hunters, like I said before. Physical pen goes a long way. And just some power. It's just a strong item. You're going to love it. The passive procs on all your damage abilities, both of your 1s and both your 3s. So you can actually utilize it pretty well. With these 4 items, you are a carry killer. You hit extremely hard, squishies. Cannot really 1v1 you, and you are going to be feeling good. Dude, who is Discord messaging me, man? Is it this? I thought I muted this. Mute for 1 hour. Oh, I must have muted the wrong ones. Anyways, sorry. Didn't want those Discord messages to keep coming through. So, yep, this is the build. 30% CDR, Crusher. Feels pretty good from here. You're going to want to go into a Titan's Bane to mitigate even more protections. And the 6th item is usually a Heartseeker with how strong it is, on top of the fact that you have so much power coming from these 5 items that the Heartseeker passive is very strong. And Uller is super good at spam abilities, so the Heartseeker passive will really, really, really slam. As you see here, we have 283 physical power. You don't even have red buff. You don't have a red pot calculated in this, so you're going to be breaking 300 power, which means your 1 and 3s are going to hit extremely, extremely hard. The Crusher passive, the Heartseeker passive is just going to be very, very strong with this god. And it's going to be a good build. Honestly, I built it the other day, and it felt great. 1 sec. Though it's getting a little dry. The build felt great. It's very strong. If you want to build it, go for it. If not, I go for the Transcendence build, like I said, the one I went over before. Yeah, give it a try. If you want a 7th item, game's going super late. This is honestly up to you. There are so many different things you can go. If you want extra power for the Heartseeker and just for the build, go Bloodforge to really, really one-shot people. What else is there? Like I said, if you want, Oboe's really nice with power builds because the percentage of power increases the damage of the lightning bounces. So Oboe will be hitting really, really hard if you have full power. You can go Brawlers if you didn't before. You can go, honestly, there's so many different things you can go. Build is very strong, especially good in ranked, where you can just kind of free cast. You're hitting carries a bunch. And yeah, it feels really good. You can actually just immediately delete a carry if you hit an axe. You can hit an axe. Change it to the bow stance auto, 1-3 auto, and they will literally disappear off your screen as if they're never there. So give it a try. This build's a lot of fun. And yeah, other than this build, if you don't like the Mace build, I personally don't like the Mace build. I rarely ever go it. I would just go the Transcendence build with the Devos, or the Transcendence build with Exekins that I went over with Heim. And that build feels great as well. But honestly, this build's a lot of fun, and I do recommend it if you're new to Uller. You can give it a try. It makes them feel a lot more fun to play because the combos one shot, they're up all the time, and it just makes them fun. I don't know. It's just like a fun build that you should try if you want. That is number 4. So we are coming up on our last ADC in the list. Although I will say there's an honorable mention / the fifth place is, in my opinion, quite tied. Because after the first 3 hunters, I think most hunters are pretty similar in terms of what they can do. I don't think there's any like insane hunters, but I do think some gods shine more than others. So for the 5th spot of the list, the last place, I think we're gonna go ahead and put Jingwei on this list. If you know anything about me, I hate players who play Jingwei. She's an extremely annoying god to play against. She's very hard to punish. She will just get ahead of you if you don't punish her in lane because of her passive. Crit feels good on her. She has built-in crit. She has 2 steroids. She has an escape. She has the ult to escape to go in. The god is pretty versatile. The only reason she's in 5th spot in this tier list is because I think the other gods do well into her on this list, and I think a lot of people don't know how to play Jing well or utilize her well, especially in ranked. But she is a strong god nonetheless. We meme about her all the time, but she is extremely powerful. She's a late game hyper carry. She's just a god that if you're new to the role and you don't know what to play, you probably aren't going to go wrong with Jingwei. Kind of bars. Didn't even mean that. That's not scripted. Just kind of my intellectual flow coming through. Anyways, let's go over the passive a little bit. Just go over the god. Obviously, Jingwei can fly back to lane when you leave the fountain, which makes her extremely hard to bully out of lane because chances are she's not even going to miss much if she backs. The 1, it's a knock-up. It's a self-knock-up if you want it to be. You can knock up the other enemies. It does some tick damage if the people stay in the 2, or the circle, that is. Usually, if you're going to dash away or dash in, you want a 1 under yourself. Boom. Now that you're up, you can 3. The 2, it's just explosive bolts. It's quite literally what it is. It's 3 autos that have a % chance to crit. Make them a little wider, and they splash. Or not splash, they become AoE autos. So if people are stacked, you can crit both of them or hit both of them with the auto. Should be using this in team fights. Don't want to be wasting these, especially because 20% chance can make or break a game in some cases. It's happened before, and it can happen to you. The 3, it is a very strong ability. It gives you power and movement speed. And if you couple that with the 1, that gives you attack speed. If you jump over the 1, or if you get hit by the 1, that is, you get a bunch of attack speed. You can dash in. You get a bunch of movement speed, a bunch of power, making her very, very strong in the 1v1. And the build, or not the build, the combo is usually 1, like I said, 1 on top of yourself when you're up, 3 right away. And then boom, you have a bunch of steroids or a bunch of power-ups on you, making you very hard to box and to run away from. And the ult is just a very strong ult. Takes you out of combat. Takes you out of combat. You can go over walls with it. You can fly far away. You can also do a lot of damage with it. If you 1-3, you know, you're committing onto somebody, they're starting to get away. You can ult to chase them down, whatever the case may be. Pretty strong ult. Takes yourself out of combat, so you can't actually die when you're getting dove. You can ult out. You can ult in, whatever the case may be. And yeah, just a good kit. Pretty strong kit. Pretty easy to pressure though, so be careful when you're playing Jingwei. If you're playing against a hyper carry, if you're playing against a Hui or an Anhern and Uller, they will jump on you over and over and over again, and they will force your actives, and they probably will kill you, which is why I don't think Jingwei is extremely strong, but she can be very, very, very strong if left alone, left to farm. And the build that I would 100% recommend to go on Jingwei would be the Dev's Crit build. I've went over it. I'll just put it here for your eyes to see. This would be the proper start. Like I said, the 2 health pots, 2 multis. Since Jingwei is a hyper farmer, you can go straight into the devs. You don't have to worry about going boots. Usually you'll have the 1700. If not, like I said, you can rush the boots. It's not a big deal. It's just a little bit. You just start stacking a little bit later or earlier. Neither one is bad. Neither one is that much better than the other. It's just kind of how the pace of the game's going. From here, you want to go into the XC build. I go the pen build, but a lot of people seem to go rage on Jing. So if you want to go rage, you want to go into the crit build, knowing that Spectre Armor can be built, go for it. I think it's a little bit worse, so I usually just go this build. Having the pen along with the 2 makes it so that if you do crit with the 2 without having any crit items, chances are the people that you're playing against won't have a Spectre Armor build, so those crits will smack for sure. So this is the build that I would usually go on Jingwei. Toxic Blade 6th item, same thing as the other builds. Extremely, extremely strong. You hit very, very hard, and if you're using the 2 effectively in fights and you're getting lucky with the crit, you are going to be doing a lot of damage. So try her out. If you're in, like I said, if you're in a lower bracket where people aren't building Spectral, go for the crit build. You'll feel great. You can actually get almost 100% crit with the 2 active, which means you're going to be hitting really, really, really hard. And yeah, that's Jingwei. So with the list about to be wrapped up, I'm going to have one honorable mention because I think, like I said, past the top 2-3 ADC guys, I think they're all pretty tied, as in where they can be played, how good they are in every team comp, things like that. So I'm going to put X-Ball here. X-Ball will be honorable mention for the top 5 list. I think he's just a little bit more counterable than the other guys on the list, but he is very strong nonetheless. The 1 is extremely, extremely annoying to play against, especially with the buff that it got to the bolas that actually split off of the enemy hit by the 1, do a lot more damage to you. And early game, that can literally be the most annoying thing to play against. You're constantly just losing 200-300 health, 30 to 40% of your HP just by standing next to the wave, and if you don't, you concede pressure, so it's very, very annoying to play against. The 2, probably one of X-Ball's, worst abilities. It's pretty inconsistent to hit. It does a lot of damage if you do hit, but it's just not really that great of an ability. The 3 is nice. It's a CC immune dash, meaning you can't go over walls or cage, like over an Odin cage with it. It is a dash, not a jump. But it does make you CC immune, which is nice. If you use the 2 and 3 together, the 3 does extra damage if they're poisoned, as you see, 30% additional damage. And the ult is what actually makes X-Ball very, very good and very annoying to play against. It makes the entire enemy screen black, or they get enveloped in a shadow, meaning they can't see what's going on in the team fight. Makes things very, very hectic, makes comms very hectic, and makes it just makes a lot of space in team fights because obviously you see everything that's going on, but your opponents don't. And it makes X-Ball a pretty nice pick to have in your team. X-Ball's a pretty great hyper carry if he gets to late game. With the 1 active, he swings. He hits very, very, very hard. And yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong with an X-Ball. If you're guaranteed to go to mid game, you're going to be doing a lot of work for sure. The passive stacks up as you deal damage. God's pretty simple. You toggle your 1 if you're going You don't if you're not. Use the 2 and 3 together. If you don't, you shouldn't be dashing aggressive really because you don't have much damage after the dash. The 2's nice, but it's not that great. Yeah, you just want to farm with this god, get to mid game, get to late game, and you're going to be doing a lot of work for sure. As for what to build on this god, I usually go the trans build because it means that you can have your one toggled forever. The trans build gives you a lot of mana. I would go the trans Exekins build, the one I already showed. I'm not even going to do it again, not really too much of a point. Though, if you do play a little bit more conservative with mana, and you feel comfortable, and you're comfortable enough to where you can actually go the Devil's build, I do think the Devil's build is extremely strong. You can go crit on this god, you can go pen on this god. You could probably even go the Mace build on this god if you want, and it'll probably feel alright, just because this one does so much damage. Jeez, I'm stuttering. The one does so much extra damage, so yeah, he's a really strong god. He's just a little bit easier to counter, a little bit easier to play against, but I think he's good. If you're comfortable with playing with him, if he's good into a team comp, he can easily be put on like higher in the list, I'd say. The thing with this list is that ADCs are mostly dependent on what you're playing against. So the number where the ADC is on this list, aka second place, can become fourth place as fast as first place can become fifth place, or so on and so forth. Yeah, that's it for me. It's been pretty long. I actually didn't expect this video to be this long, but it's been highly, highly requested. So hopefully you enjoyed me ranting on about which gods are the best, blah, 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 blah. These are my opinions for ranked. These are just gods that you can probably pick up and learn to play, and you'll have a good time with them. And yeah, that's it for me, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what I did right. Tell me what I did wrong so I can improve on the next video coming. And yeah, go out there, give them a try, and let me know how you feel. Let me know what build you chose to do and how it felt and what you think, what you need some help with, and I'll try to help you. I'll try to get back to everyone. That's it from me, guys. I hope you did enjoy this video. I love all of you. Keep grinding, keep playing, stay safe out there with the virus. Hope you have a great day. Peace.